Ever wish you had like a cheat code for success?
Mm.
Well, today we're going to dive into Napoleon Hill's law of success
Okay.
to unlock this secret weapon he calls the mastermind.
Right.
And forget like all the mystical mumbo jumbo. We're talking about like a real strategic alliance here
Right.
of minds that can like unlock potential you never even knew you had.
It's really fascinating how Hill takes this concept that feels so intangible and breaks it down into a very practical principle.
Right.
That, he really argues that the mastermind is not some magical force out there.
Right.
But it's really this fusion of energy and shared vision and this really focused collaboration.
Okay. So less about like summoning spirits and more about summoning success. Right. But how does this mastermind thing even work?
Yeah.
Like, does he give us a blueprint?
He really does. He makes the argument that when you have like-minded people who come together with this shared goal in mind and a real sense of harmony, they're able to tap into a higher level of thinking.
It's like a superpowered brainstorming session.
It is.
But he goes beyond just brainstorming.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
He points to some pretty big names as examples of this mastermind in action.
He does. He actually claims that the incredible achievements of people like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone weren't just because they were brilliant, right? He highlights their close friendships and this habit they had of regularly brainstorming together, sharing ideas.
As evidence of a mastermind, whether or not they even realized it.
So picture this. You've got Ford, Edison, Firestone. I mean, these are like titans of their time huddled together, not just for casual chats, but like fueling each other's creativity.
Right.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
But did he have any examples beyond these big names?
Yeah.
Because not all of us are, running car companies or inventing light bulbs.
He understood that. And that's why he gives us the example of what he called the Big Six in Chicago. Okay. Which was this group of business leaders who would get together on a very regular basis to support each other's ventures.
Yeah.
And these weren't just any businessmen, right?
Right.
We're talking William Wrigley Jr., the chewing gum magnate.
Yeah. And John R. Thompson, the man behind a whole chain of restaurants.
So even chewing gum needs a mastermind. Who knew?
Right.
It seems like this concept kind of transcends all these different industries and social circles.
It does.
It really makes you wonder, like, who would you invite to your own mastermind?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But he doesn't just leave us with these, like, intriguing examples and these inspiring stories.
No.
He actually gives us a guide, right?
He does.
To building our own
Yeah. He breaks it down and says, look, you need to start by finding people who are passionate about a shared goal. So think of it like assembling this team of superheroes, right?
Yeah.
Each of them with these unique skills, unique perspectives, but they're all aligned towards this common mission.
So finding your squad is step one.
Yeah.
What's next? How do we make this team of superheroes actually click?
Harmony, right.
Okay.
Harmony is key here. He really emphasizes that you need to foster an environment of trust and mutual respect.
Okay.
And what that means is checking your ego at the door, banishing negativity, and embracing this power of collaboration over competition.
So we're talking about like a judgment-free zone where everyone feels safe to share even their wildest ideas.
Exactly.
But it's not just about like, throwing ideas around, is it?
No.
Like he really emphasizes structure in these mastermind meetings.
He does. He recommends that these meetings go beyond casual conversation, right? You don't want to just get together and chat about your day. It's about focused brainstorming. Okay. Challenging each other's assumptions. Right. Pushing each other to think differently. Okay. It's about harnessing that collective intelligence to really refine ideas and achieve those goals faster.
This is starting to sound less like a casual coffee clatch.
Right.
And more like, a high-powered strategy session with friends.
Yeah.
Did he mention how big these masterminds even need to be?
Well, that's what's really fascinating. He actually believed that even a small, tight-knit group, as few as 2 people, could experience the power of the mastermind.
Wow.
It's not about the quantity of the minds. It's about the quality of the connection and that shared purpose.
So it's incredibly empowering because it means you don't need to go out and assemble this like boardroom full of experts.
Exactly.
You can start cultivating a mastermind with just one other person
Right.
who shares your vision.
Exactly.
But how does this mastermind even like work its magic?
Yeah.
Does he delve into the mechanics of it all?
He offers a fascinating perspective.
Okay.
He suggests that when minds are in sync,
Okay.
they create this type of mental resonance.
Okay.
Almost like they're tapping into this universal database of ideas.
Hold on. Are we talking about thought waves here?
Right.
This is where it starts to sound a little, out there.
Oh, woo, woo, woo.
Right.
Okay.
How does Hill, this man who studied success, bridge this gap between the practical and the seemingly impossible?
Well, he grounds his theory
by drawing parallels to scientific principles that were, very much of his time.
Right.
This was a time when the world was just beginning to understand things like radio waves.
Right.
The transmission of sound over these invisible frequencies, right?
Right.
He suggested that, our thoughts, too, vibrate at different frequencies.
Okay.
And a mastermind allows us to tap into a higher frequency of thought, unlocking ideas, solutions that we might never have accessed on our own.
It's almost as if, like, in that harmonious space, the group's, like, collective focus is like a magnet, drawing in the specific insights and solutions that they need.
Yeah.
Almost like this, like, mental download from the universe. But what happens if that harmony gets disrupted, right?
Because, is it even realistic to expect a group of people to always be on the same page?
Right.
Especially when they're brainstorming new ideas?
Well, he was very adamant that maintaining harmony within the mastermind is absolutely crucial for it to work effectively. He actually compares it to, like, throwing a wrench in a well-oiled machine.
Right.
Disagreements, diverse opinions, they're natural.
Right.
But it's about how you navigate those differences.
Okay.
Do you navigate them constructively, with respect, with a focus on the greater good of the group and the shared vision?
So think of it like a jazz ensemble.
Yeah.
Where, like, every musician is contributing their unique voice, but they're doing it in a way that, like, harmonizes and elevates that overall composition.
Exactly.
So it's less about everybody agreeing all the time. And more about creating this space where those disagreements can actually be explored constructively and lead to even stronger outcomes.
Yeah.
But how much of this whole mastermind thing is based on, like, hard evidence versus just anecdotal observations?
Yeah.
Did he have any data?
It's important to remember that Hill spent over 2 decades researching for the law of success, interviewing hundreds of successful individuals, really analyzing their methods, looking for patterns. So he wasn't just collecting these feel-good stories. He was really on a mission to try to crack the code of success.
So more of a data-driven Sherlock Holmes of success than just a, like, self-help guru.
Right.
But did he uncover any, like, concrete evidence to support these claims about the mastermind?
Hill was a keen observer of human nature. And he noticed that this mastermind principle consistently emerged as this key factor in the success stories that he was studying.
Interesting.
So whether it was a group of entrepreneurs, artists, even spiritual leaders, the presence of a supportive and harmonious group, all working toward this common goal was this recurring theme for him.
It's like that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Right.
But in this case, it's not just about going far. It's about reaching heights that you couldn't even imagine on your own. It sounds like he really believed that by, like, tapping into the power of the mastermind, that we can unlock a level of potential that goes beyond just our individual capability.
Precisely. He challenged us to rethink our approach to success, right? What if he said our greatest resource isn't our individual talent?
Right.
It's not our resources. It's our ability to connect with others and harness that power of collaboration.
It's a powerful concept, but it also kind of begs the question. If this is so effective, why isn't everyone doing it?
Right.
Is it really as simple as just finding a group of like-minded people and, like, meeting up for coffee once a week?
Right.
What are the potential pitfalls here? How do we even avoid them?
You've hit on a really crucial point.
Building
an effective mastermind takes more than just casual gatherings, right?
Okay.
It requires a real commitment to open communication. a willingness to be vulnerable, to be supportive, and a shared understanding of the group's purpose and goals.
So we're talking about like laying this solid foundation of trust and shared vision.
Yes.
Before you can even like begin to build upwards. It's like any great structure, right?
Right.
The stronger your foundation, the higher you can build.
Exactly.
But what does that foundation even look like in the context of a mastermind?
Yeah.
What are the building blocks,
Yeah.
so to speak, of a successful group?
Well, that's what we're going to unpack right after a quick break.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll explore the specific traits and dynamics that make for a truly powerful mastermind.
Okay.
And how to avoid some of those common pitfalls that can derail even the most well-intentioned groups.
All right, we'll be right back. Before the break, we were talking about these essential elements of building a successful mastermind.
Right.
It's more than just grabbing coffee with your friends.
It is, yeah.
So let's talk specifics.
Okay.
What are the building blocks of a high-impact mastermind?
You're right. It's not just casual socializing.
Right.
A robust mastermind, it thrives on this foundation of shared values, aligned goals, and this genuine commitment to each other's success.
Okay.
Think of it like a three-legged stool. You remove one leg.
Yeah.
The whole thing collapses.
I like that, okay.
Yeah.
It needs to be sturdy, well-balanced.
Yes.
So shared values, aligned goals, and commitment to mutual success.
Yes.
Those are the three legs. Let's start with shared values.
Okay.
What did he have to say about, like, finding people who are even a good fit for your mastermind?
He believed that a successful mastermind really requires a careful selection process, right?
Right.
It's not enough to just gather, a group of intelligent people or accomplished people.
Right.
You need to find people who really resonate with your own core beliefs and principles.
So it's about finding, like, your tribe.
Yes.
People who see the world through a similar lens.
Yes.
But wouldn't that lead to, like, everyone just agreeing all the time?
Right.
Where is there room for those aha moments that come from having, like, such diverse perspectives?
That's where those aligned goals come into play, right?
Okay.
So the shared values, they lay that foundation for trust and understanding.
Okay.
But it's the aligned goals that provide the direction and the focus for the mastermind.
Okay.
So you're all moving in the same direction, even if you come from slightly different starting points.
So you might have a group of, like, entrepreneurs with really diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise.
Right.
But they're all united by this common goal of, like, building successful businesses.
Exactly. And that shared ambition, that drive to achieve something significant together, that's what really fuels mastermind.
It's like they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Right.
But in this case, it's not just about going far. It's about reaching heights
Right.
you never even thought possible on your own.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got these shared values. We've got aligned goals.
Yes.
What about that third leg? Commitment to mutual success.
Right.
What does that look like in action?
He really emphasized the importance of creating this environment of genuine support and encouragement within the mastermind.
Okay.
So that means celebrating each other's wins, offering a helping hand during the challenges, and genuinely wanting to see everyone in the group succeed.
So it's not just about what you can get from the mastermind, but it's also about what you can contribute.
Precisely.
Okay.
A true mastermind, it operates on this principle of reciprocity.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
It's a two-way street where everyone's both a giver and a receiver, a mentor and a mentee.
So it's about creating this, like, virtuous cycle.
Yes, exactly.
Of support and accountability.
Yes.
Where everyone feels empowered to really step up and achieve their full potential.
Yes.
But let's talk about those potential pitfalls you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
What are some red flags to, like, watch out for when you're building or even joining a mastermind?
Yeah. One of the biggest red flags is going to be a lack of clear communication.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Without open and honest dialogue, resentment can build.
Yeah.
And the mastermind can quickly devolve into a source of frustration rather than inspiration.
Right. So transparency is key.
Yeah.
But how do you ensure that everyone feels comfortable speaking their minds.
Yeah.
Especially if, like, disagreements come up.
That's where establishing ground rules early on becomes absolutely crucial. It's about creating that safe space where everyone feels heard, respected, even when they're voicing dissenting opinions.
So setting those boundaries and expectations from the outset helps to, like, prevent those misunderstandings and conflict down the line.
Exactly. Another potential pitfall is a lack of commitment. Building a successful mastermind, it takes time, effort, consistency. And if members are only half invested, that group's energy is going to dwindle.
It's like any relationship, right?
It is.
It requires nurturing. It requires attention.
It does.
How do you maintain that momentum over time? How do you keep the mastermind from becoming just another item on an already overflowing to-do list?
One effective strategy is to schedule regular meetings with a very clear purpose and agenda.
So no, like, aimless chit-chat sessions.
While social interaction is important for building that camaraderie. You know, a successful mastermind should always have a defined focus, an objective for each gathering.
So it's about making the most of everyone's time. And ensuring that each meeting leaves those members feeling energized, inspired, equipped with those actionable insights.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about these building blocks of a successful mastermind and some common pitfalls to avoid. But how do you even know if it's actually working? What are the signs of a thriving mastermind?
One of the most obvious signs is going to be a tangible sense of progress, Are members actually achieving their goals?
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about seeing real measurable results.
A thriving mastermind should act as a catalyst for growth and achievement for all of its members. Another sign is a deep sense of connection and belonging. Do members genuinely enjoy spending time together? Do they feel supported? Understood.
It's about fostering that sense of community. Like a tribe.
Exactly.
Of like-minded individuals who are all, like, lifting each other up and pushing each other to be their best selves.
Precisely.
And finally, a thriving mastermind is marked by, like, this constant flow of new ideas and perspective. Are they challenging each other's assumptions? Are they sparking that creativity and innovation within the group?
It's about creating a space where the sum is truly greater than its parts. Where individual brilliance is amplified through that collaboration and synergy.
But how do you even know who to invite to your mastermind? Should you stick with people you know really well? Or is there value in branching out, connecting with individuals outside of your, like, immediate circle?
That's a great question. And it's one we're going to delve into right after a quick break.
Okay, sounds good.
Stay with us.
And we're back. Before the break, we were talking about using the mastermind to, like, navigate those challenges and unlock solutions. It's like having a secret weapon for when you feel stuck.
It really is. It's incredibly empowering, you know, to know that you have this team of brilliant minds in your corner ready to offer support, to brainstorm those solutions and help you see those challenges from totally new angles.
So it's like having your own, like, personal board of advisors. But instead of, like, you know, stucky suits and hourly rates, it's your, like, trusted allies who are all, like, invested in your success.
Exactly,
When you hit a wall, instead of just getting, like, bogged down in that frustration, you bring that challenge to your mastermind. So imagine, like, you're presenting this problem. You've been wrestling with it. It's been keeping you up at night. And then instead of judgment or, like, unsolicited advice, you're met with, like, this wave of support, this chorus of, let's figure this out together.
Absolutely, your mastermind becomes this safe space to be vulnerable, to admit your struggles, and to really tap into that collective wisdom of the group.
I could see how that would be a game changer. It's like having this, like, team of expert navigators helping you chart a course through, like, the choppy waters, you know?
Right.
But how does that collaborative problem solving even work?
Yeah.
Like in practice?
Right.
Does everyone just like throw out ideas?
Yeah.
Or is there a more structured approach?
Well, a successful mastermind will often incorporate, very specific techniques to stimulate that creativity and facilitate really effective problem solving.
Okay.
One approach is to encourage what's called divergent thinking.
Divergent thinking. That sounds kind of intriguing.
Yeah.
What is that?
So it's about exploring this wide range of possibilities before you even think about narrowing down to a solution.
Okay.
So imagine, for example, you're trying to brainstorm a new business idea.
Right.
Instead of immediately jumping into the logistics and marketing plans, you start by just generating as many like wild and unconventional ideas as possible, no matter how outlandish they may seem.
So you're encouraging everyone to think outside the box.
Yes.
Suspend that judgment. Let the creative juices flow.
Exactly. Yeah. The goal is to break free from that conventional thinking and explore those uncharted territories.
Right. Because often, like, the most innovative solutions, they come from those, like, seemingly crazy ideas.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, like, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got.
Right.
So the mastermind becomes this catalyst.
It does.
Like pushing those boundaries, challenging those assumptions, exploring new possibilities.
Absolutely. And then once you've explored that wide range of ideas, then you can start to connect the dots. You can identify patterns and converge on, the most promising solutions.
So it's like a two-step process, diverge to explore, converge to refine.
Exactly.
And throughout this entire process, the mastermind is providing this like invaluable support and accountability.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you commit to a goal,
you're
not just accountable to yourself, but you're also accountable to your mastermind.
That's right.
Which is a really powerful motivator.
It is.
It's like having your own like personal cheerleading squad.
Yeah.
But instead of pom-poms, they're like armed with insightful questions, constructive feedback, unwavering support.
Absolutely.
And beyond just the practical benefits, of like the problem solving and the accountability, the mastermind also offers something that's like equally valuable, that sense of belonging and shared purpose.
It's so important.
Which you don't really find that often in like the traditional business world. You don't get it's more than just like networking.
It is.
It's about building genuine connections.
Yes.
Friendships, even with people who like truly understand your journey.
Exactly. And we're wired for that, right?
Yeah.
We're wired for connection, for collaboration.
Right.
And the mastermind really taps into that innate human need to belong, to contribute, to be part of something larger than ourselves.
It's about creating this tribe of like-minded individuals who are all committed to like supporting each other's growth and success.
That's right.
And in a world that often feels increasingly like isolating and competitive,
it does.
That sense of community and shared purpose can be really transformative. So for anyone listening out there who's feeling like alone in their journey, who's craving that like sense of connection and support, Hill's Mastermind Principle offers this like powerful solution, right?
It does.
It's a reminder that we don't have to go it alone.
We don't.
That we could achieve so much more when we like join forces and harness that power of collaboration.
Absolutely.
It's about unlocking a level of potential that extends far beyond like just our individual capabilities, a level of success that becomes attainable when we tap into that collective wisdom, energy, support of a true mastermind.
I love it.
This has been a really insightful deep dive. Any like final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with today?
If there's one thing to take away from Hill's Mastermind Principle,
it's this. Success is not a solo sport. It's a team effort.
Okay.
And by surrounding ourselves with the right people, those who inspire us, challenge us, and support us, we unlock that level of potential we never thought possible.
It's about embracing the power of collaboration, that shared vision.
Yes.
Knowing that we don't have to face those challenges and triumphs of life alone.
We don't.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Absolutely.
Into the power of the mastermind.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you're leaving today feeling like inspired, empowered, ready to build your own dream team for success.
Yes.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing,
keep going,
and keep reaching for those audacious goals together.
Hey there, deep diver. Ever tried to move something with just your mind?
Yeah.
Today we're tackling psychokinesis.
Yeah.
You know, that mind over matter phenomenon.
Right.
We're diving into a mountain of research, particularly studies using random number generators.
RNGs.
Or RNGs for short.
It's a pleasure to be here. RNGs have been a cornerstone of PK research for decades, offering a fascinating, if sometimes controversial, window into the potential of the mind.
Okay, so first things first, for those of us who haven't mastered telekinesis yet, how do scientists even test if someone's mind is influencing something in the real world?
Well, that's where the beauty of RNGs come in.
Okay.
Imagine a perfect coin flip, but instead of heads or tails, it's a constant stream of ones and A's. That's essentially what an RNG does.
Right.
The idea is if someone can mentally influence those results to make the coin land on more ones than pure chance would allow, that's measurable evidence for PK.
So what's the verdict so far? Did those digital coins behave?
The results are surprisingly interesting, even going back to the 70s with a physicist named Helmut Schmidt.
Okay.
He used a radioactive decay RNG, basically harnessing the randomness of atoms, and found people could actually influence the output sometimes, even in ways they weren't consciously trying to do.
So accidentally willing a demon into existence instead of just levitating that spoon.
Exactly.
Been there.
Yeah.
But seriously, how much stock can we put in one guy's spooky radioactive setup?
Right.
Did others replicate these findings?
They did. We've now got decades of data from all sorts of RNG studies. One analysis combined nearly 150 dice-based PK experiments going all the way back to the 1930s. That's over 2 million dice rolls.
Wow. Okay.
And guess what? A small but statistically significant effect kept popping up.
Really?
Now, statistically significant sounds jargony, but what it really means is the results are unlikely to have happened just by chance. It's like flipping a coin 1,000 times and getting heads 80% of the time. Something fishy is probably going on.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of dice.
Yeah.
But let's talk about those RNG studies specifically.
Okay.
What else did they discover?
A lot of the groundbreaking RNG research happened at the Pierre Lab.
Okay.
They ran experiments for years with volunteers trying to mentally influence their custom-designed RNG. They even developed a way to visualize the results. Imagine a graph where a straight line is pure chance.
Okay.
Any bumps or dips show a deviation from randomness.
Right.
They called this cumulative deviation.
Okay.
And it basically let them see the mind potentially nudging those random events over time.
So like a lie detector test for psychic powers.
In a way.
Oh.
And consistently across many participants, they found evidence that people were influencing the RNG in the intended direction. Enough so that it wasn't just random luck.
That's wild. But before we declare victory for mind over matter,
right,
what do the skeptics say about all this? There's got to be another explanation.
There always is.
Right.
And good science means taking those counter-arguments seriously.
Yeah.
One of the main criticisms is that the RNGs themselves might not be truly random. Some use algorithms, which are basically instructions that create patterns, even though these patterns seem random.
Yeah.
Critics argue they might have hidden biases that make them easier to influence, whether by the mind or just by subtle glitches.
So like trying to predict the next note in a pop song.
Yeah.
It sounds random, but there's a formula behind it.
Exactly.
Right.
But even with truly random RNGs, like those using radioactive decay, skeptics argue there might be subtle design flaws or even environmental factors that could skew the results.
Right.
Electromagnetic interference from, say, a phone nearby could mess with things.
Yeah, designing a foolproof PK experiment sounds like a nightmare.
It is a challenge. And then there's the issue of selective reporting, the idea that researchers might accidentally or intentionally only publish studies with positive results, leaving the negative ones hidden away.
So we're only seeing the greatest hits of PK research, not the flops.
Precisely.
Right.
And that makes it hard to tell how strong the effect really is.
Right.
Some researchers have tried to account for this, but it's tricky.
Okay, so some say the RNGs aren't truly random.
Right.
Others say we're only seeing part of the picture.
Yeah.
What's the counter to that?
Yeah.
How have PK proponents addressed these criticisms?
One counter-argument is that the sheer range of results in PK experiments can't just be explained by faulty RNGs or selective reporting.
Okay.
Some studies show small effects, others much larger, almost like there's a hidden pattern within the randomness.
Okay, so if it's not just shoddy science, what else could be going on?
Yeah.
What are the other explanations for these intriguing, yet still debated results?
That is the million-dollar question. And it leads us to some even more fascinating lines of inquiry, like, what if certain conditions actually make PK stronger?
Okay.
But we'll save those mind-blowing possibilities for the next part of our deep dive.
All right, deep diver, we're back. Last time we waded into the world of RNGs and psychokinesis.
Right.
Now let's say, for argument's sake, that PK is real. Is there anything that can make it stronger?
Yeah.
Should I be like meditating in a Faraday cage during a solar flare?
Well,
asking for a friend.
Your friend might be onto something.
Okay.
Researchers have been exploring those very questions, looking at what factors might influence PK, and some of their findings are pretty wild.
Okay, hit me with the weird science.
Okay.
What have they found?
Remember how we were talking about truly random RNGs versus those using algorithms?
Right, like radioactive decay versus computer code trying to mimic randomness?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, there's some evidence suggesting those truly random RNGs might actually be more susceptible to PK.
Really?
It's like the mind has an easier time influencing something truly unpredictable. Like it's tapping into a deeper level of reality where those events originate.
So ditch the algorithms and embrace the chaos. Got it.
Yeah.
What about distance? Does my mind have a range limit? Can I only influence things right in front of me?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
There's actually evidence suggesting distance might not be the hard limit we assume it to be. Helmut Schmidt, the physicist with the radioactive RNG setup, did some fascinating work on this.
Okay.
In one study, he gave a psychic a pre-recorded sequence of sounds, completely random, and asked them to try and influence it retroactively.
Wait, hold up. He's saying you can influence something after it's already happened. That's bending the rules of time, not just spoons.
It's definitely a mind-bending concept, and this idea of retro PK has been explored by other researchers too.
Wow.
One theory is that consciousness at a fundamental level might interact with events in a way where our usual understanding of past, present, future doesn't really apply.
Okay, now my brain hurts.
Yeah.
But before we get lost in the space-time continuum, what about the distance between the person and the target they're trying to influence? Does it have to be in the same room, or could it be miles away?
That's a question that's still up for debate.
Okay.
Some research suggests that PK might be stronger over shorter distances, which makes intuitive sense.
Yeah.
Like maybe it takes more oomph to mentally reach across the globe.
Right.
But even that's not a sure bet.
Okay.
There have been successful PK studies done at long distances too, so the jury's still out on whether proximity really matters.
So it might not be about physical distance, but maybe something more like the strength of the connection between the person and the thing they're trying to influence.
And that leads us to another factor that researchers have looked at: emotions.
Okay, spill the tea. Which emotions are the PK power-ups?
Well, it's not quite as simple as picking an emotion off a shelf and wielding it.
Okay.
But research has shown that emotions, especially strong ones, can play a role.
Right.
Some studies suggest that intense feelings like anger or anxiety might amplify PK effects.
So if I want to win the lottery with my mind, I should channel my frustration with rush hour traffic.
Let's not give people road rage just yet.
Okay.
While some studies have linked those fight-or-flight emotions to stronger PK, others suggest that calm focus might actually be the key.
So it's not as simple as good vibes only or unleash your inner rage monster.
Right.
It's something more nuanced than that.
Exactly. It might be that different emotional states help us tap into different aspects of PK or different ways that our consciousness interacts with the world around us. More research is needed to really tease apart what's going on.
Right.
But there are some really interesting leads. For example, one study monitored an RNG during therapy sessions, and they found big spikes in deviation from randomness when clients had intense emotional breakthroughs.
Wow. So like their emotions were literally shaking up the fabric of reality, at least on a tiny measurable level.
That's one way to look at it.
Wow.
And this ties into the idea that PK might be less about mind over matter in a forceful way, and more about a subtle interplay between consciousness and the world around us.
Okay, so we've got true randomness, maybe some kind of emotional amplifier.
Right.
Anything else on the PK power-up list?
You bet. Visualization and imagery seem to play a role, too.
Like, if I can't even picture myself moving that object with my mind, it's not going to happen.
That's the idea. And there's research to back it up.
Okay.
One study had people try to influence an RNG,
Okay.
But they also had them do physical tasks that required similar focus and mental imagery.
Okay.
Turns out people who were good at the physical tasks, the ones requiring precise mental pictures, also tended to be better at influencing the RNG.
So practicing things like darts or archery, secretly training my PK muscles. I like it.
Yeah.
Anything else we should have on our radar?
There's one more factor that's been cropping up.
Okay.
And this is where things get really weird.
Deep divers, we're back. Last time, we were teetering on the edge of really weird territory with that whole electronics going haywire around PK thing.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that? Is my laptop about to become self-aware?
Yeah. Well, let's hope not, for both our sakes. But seriously, the idea that our minds might subtly influence technology is a really intriguing one.
Right.
And it's actually not that far-fetched when you think about it.
Right.
Our brains and bodies run on electrical impulses.
Right.
And those impulses create tiny electromagnetic fields around us.
Okay.
So if our thoughts and intentions can influence the physical world, even at a very subtle level, it stands to reason that they might also interact with those electromagnetic fields, potentially causing glitches in nearby electronics.
So, like, our minds are emitting a faint psychic signal that can mess with sensitive electronics?
Right.
I'm suddenly feeling a lot more understanding towards people who talk to their plants now.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. But as with many things in PK research, it's tough to pin down exactly what's going on. We have tons of anecdotal reports, watches, stopping lights, flickering, you name it.
Right.
But those are hard to study scientifically.
Right.
Still, the sheer number of these reports, combined with some laboratory studies that have shown strange interactions between intention and electronic systems, suggests there's something worth exploring here.
Agreed. It's definitely a case where we need more rigorous research to separate the signal from the noise.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got true randomness, emotions, visualization, and maybe even a bit of tech whisperer potential.
Right.
Anything else on this PK power-up list?
Oh, we're just getting started.
Really?
Remember how we talked about meditation earlier?
Right.
And how it might help quiet the mind and enhance focus?
Right, like mental training for our psychic muscles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, some researchers believe that meditation might be doing something even deeper than that.
Okay.
They propose that meditation, particularly certain types, might help us access different levels of consciousness.
Okay.
Ones that are more connected to this fundamental underlying reality where those random events originate.
Okay, now we're venturing into some seriously mind-blowing territory.
Yeah.
So it's not just about clearing my head of grocery lists and to-do items. I'm actually tuning into a different frequency of reality.
That's the idea.
Wow.
And there's some fascinating research to support it.
Okay.
For example, one study found that people who'd been practicing a specific type of meditation for years, where they focused on connecting to a universal consciousness, showed significantly stronger PK effects than those who didn't meditate. And remember how we talked about those field RNG studies done during large group meditations?
Right.
Those have shown intriguing results, too, with the RNGs deviating from randomness during times of collective focus. It's like those combined intentions create a ripple effect that can be detected even in random data.
Wow. So maybe those ancient meditation traditions were onto something after all.
Right.
Okay, so meditation might be a key to unlocking our PK potential.
Right.
What about those psychic signatures you mentioned earlier?
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
This is where things get really personal.
Okay.
The idea behind psychic signatures is that each of us might have a unique way of influencing the world with our minds, like a psychic fingerprint.
So it's not just that some people are better at PK than others, it's that we each have our own distinct style.
Exactly.
Okay.
And some really interesting research has been done on this.
Okay.
For example, one study had people try to influence an RNG multiple times.
Okay.
Then they took those results and compared them to other random data, including the person's own results from the other trials.
Right.
What they found was fascinating.
Okay.
The participants' own data tended to match up more closely than chance would allow.
Really?
Even when compared to other random sequences.
Wow.
It suggests that there really is something unique and identifiable about how each person influences the world with their mind, even if they're not consciously aware of it.
That's incredible. Imagine if we could actually identify people's unique psychic signatures.
Right.
And maybe even train them to use their abilities more effectively.
Right.
The possibilities are mind-boggling.
They are. And that leads us to our final and perhaps most mind-bending concept, the multiverse.
Okay, you've been teasing this all episode. Don't hold back now.
Right. Let's take the plunge.
Yeah.
Some researchers believe that PK might be more than just influencing matter in this reality.
Okay.
They propose that our minds might actually be interacting with other realities, other dimensions that exist alongside our own.
Hold on. Are we talking about parallel universes?
We are. It's a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
But it's actually gaining traction in the world of physics.
Really?
There are now multiple theories suggesting that our universe, the one we experience, is just one of many, perhaps an infinite number of universes existing simultaneously.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So are we saying that our minds are somehow reaching across these different realities and drawing energy or information from them?
That's one interpretation. Some physicists believe that these different universes might be interconnected or that they might interact with each other in subtle ways.
Right.
And some PK researchers propose that maybe, just maybe, our minds are capable of tapping into these other realities.
Okay.
Perhaps explaining why PK effects are often so small and difficult to reproduce consistently. We might be dealing with forces and energies that are beyond our current scientific understanding.
Wow. Okay, I need a minute to process all of this.
Yeah, take your time.
So to bring it back to our initial question, can I bend spoons with my brain yet?
The honest answer, we still don't know for sure.
Okay.
The research is promising,
Okay.
but it's still in its early stages.
Right.
We've got tantalizing clues, intriguing patterns, and enough anecdotal evidence to make even the staunchest skeptic wonder, what if?
It seems like every answer we uncover just leads to more questions.
It really does.
Which I have a feeling is what makes this field so captivating for both researchers and armchair enthusiasts like myself.
Absolutely. This is a field that challenges us to expand our understanding of what's possible, to question our assumptions about the nature of reality and the potential of the human mind.
And on that note, Deep Diver, here's something to ponder.
Okay.
If our minds can influence the world around us, even in the tiniest, most subtle ways,
Right.
what does that mean for our everyday lives? Are we constantly shaping reality with our thoughts, our intentions,
Right.
more than we realize?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? And one that we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into the mysteries of the mind and the universe. All right, so someone dropped a whole stack of Seneca quotes and some daily Stoic videos. Looks like we're diving into some ancient wisdom today. Seneca. Where do we even begin with the Stoic superstar?
Well, it's interesting. What's fascinating about Seneca is that he wasn't just theorizing about this stuff. He was really living it.
Oh, absolutely.
And not just like, in some quiet contemplative retreat kind of way.
Right.
We're talking political intrigue, exile, like even a dramatic death scene.
Yeah, it's like Stoicism 101, but taught by a guy who's been through the ringer himself.
Exactly.
I think that's why it's so relatable, even though it was written like centuries ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He faced so many challenges, things that we can relate to even today, right? Political turmoil, loss, the pressures of success, all of that. And for him, it wasn't just theory. It was literally lived experience.
And you can feel that in his writing.
Yeah.
It feels like he's like right there with you.
Yeah.
Giving you advice based on like what he went through.
Absolutely.
One quote that really struck me, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Powerful.
That's from his essay on the shortness of life. I think it's a good example of how he challenges us to really look at our priorities. Like he's really urging us to, be more mindful of our time, savor each moment, and not dwell on the past so much or, always be worrying about the future.
And he talks about this idea of choosing your mentors or what he calls heroes to kind of model ourselves after. I love that practicality of it all.
Yeah.
It's like he's giving us a cheat sheet for life.
Yeah. And what's interesting is he doesn't limit you to just like, Stoic thinkers.
Yeah.
Our sources really highlighted how Seneca himself, he read so widely, drew wisdom from all these different schools of thought.
Right.
He believed in finding truth wherever it might exist.
I love that. That's my kind of philosopher.
Yeah.
Always learning, always curious, right?
Exactly.
So, what are some key takeaways you think our listeners should really, grasp about Seneca's philosophy?
Well, so Seneca really emphasizes several themes, but I think one of the big ones is this idea of living in accordance with nature.
Okay, I was going to say, that sounds a little vague. What does that even mean in, everyday life?
Yeah, so it's about accepting what we can't control.
Okay.
Like death, misfortune, other people's actions, right? And instead, focusing on what we can control, which is our own response to it.
I see.
It's about aligning ourselves with that natural, order, the universe,
Yeah.
rather than always trying to fight against it.
So going with the flow, but like with a healthy dose of self-awareness and action.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about like approaching life with a sense of calm acceptance.
Right.
And focusing your energy on what's really in your sphere of influence.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a recipe for a whole lot less stress in your life.
Absolutely.
And, maybe a lot more happiness.
Absolutely. And, I think that leads us to another one of his biggies, which is this concept of virtue.
Okay.
He believed that true happiness, what the Stoics called eudaimonia, doesn't come from all the external things, right? Like wealth or status.
Not about the fancy chariots and Roman villas and all that.
Not really. Although it's interesting because Seneca himself, he was a wealthy man. He was a successful playwright. He was an advisor to the emperor.
Right.
But he argued that true contentment comes from cultivating these inner qualities, like wisdom, justice, courage, temperance.
Inner peace over material possessions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on what truly matters, those internal things.
I like it.
And this really ties into another key aspect of Stoicism that he emphasizes, which is preparing for adversity.
Ooh, there it is again. So this wasn't just something that he, experienced personally, but it was like a core part of his philosophy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
He really believed that we should anticipate challenges in our lives, that we should expect setbacks.
Yeah.
And then use those experiences as opportunities to build our own inner strength, resilience.
Yeah. Kind of like that saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Exactly. And not just prepare, but almost mentally rehearse those difficult situations.
Oh, interesting.
That way, when they inevitably come up, we're not totally caught off guard.
That's right.
You can kind of face them with more of a, sense of equanimity.
I'm starting to see why you're such a fan of this guy. He's incredibly insightful.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
So we've got living in accordance with nature, cultivating virtue, and preparing for adversity.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid, I would say, foundation for life, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And what I think is really cool is that Seneca didn't just talk about these things in a vacuum. He actually gave very specific and practical advice on how to actually live these things out.
Now, that's where it gets really interesting.
Like that idea of choosing a role model, a hero, to kind of guide you.
Right. Yeah. He said something like, choose someone whose way of life, as well as words, and whose very face, as it were, have won your approval. There is a need, in my view, for someone as a standard against which our characters can measure themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I find fascinating is he doesn't limit us to, you have to have a Stoic role model. Our daily Stoic source was pointing out how Seneca, he read very widely, even studied rival philosophies like Epicureanism.
Yeah.
He was open, to finding wisdom wherever he could.
That's cool. Yeah. That's the mark of, a tree learner, right?
Yeah.
You're always, curious, seeking out new perspectives.
So.
He sounds kind of like you, actually, always encouraging us to question our assumptions, consider different viewpoints.
Well, I do believe that that's essential for growth, is engaging with diverse perspectives, for sure.
Right.
And Seneca really embodied that.
Absolutely. And speaking of embodying things, that quote, we suffer more in imagination than reality.
Oh, yeah.
That one really hit home for me. It's like we create all this anxiety and fear in our minds more than what actually exists in the real world a lot of the time.
Totally. Yeah, that's such a key takeaway from his work, I think, especially in today's world. Constant information overload, always thinking about the worst case scenario.
Right.
He really understood the power of our thoughts and how much they can shape our reality.
Yeah. So instead of letting your anxieties run wild, he's saying, focus on the present moment. Don't get so caught up in what might happen.
Exactly, yeah. And, our daily Stoic source, they talked about this practice that Seneca called premeditatio malorum.
I was going to say, what is it?
Which basically means, anticipating potential challenges.
So we're supposed to, think about all the bad things that could happen? Wasn't that just going to make it worse?
It might sound counterintuitive, but the idea is not to dwell on them, but to mentally prepare yourself.
Oh, okay.
That way, when those situations inevitably arise, you're less likely to totally freak out.
I see.
You're able to respond with, more clarity, resilience.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like having an emergency plan, right?
Exactly.
If you've already thought about the steps, even just a little bit, you're going to be so much more equipped to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it happens.
It's like a fire drill.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually kind of leads me to another part of his philosophy that I find really interesting, which is the value he puts on friendship.
Yeah.
Like real strong relationships.
Mm.
He really sees them as this source of joy and support and even wisdom.
Yeah, I love that about his work.
It's like he's weaving together this like personal growth with the need for connection.
Totally.
It's not just you by yourself, like in a room, contemplating life.
Yeah.
It's about having people that you can share those insights with.
Yeah, and support each other through it, all the ups and downs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like choosing your friends wisely, right? Like surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up, who are going to challenge you to be a better version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's such a good point.
Right. He sounds like the ultimate dinner party guest.
Right.
Full of wisdom, great stories, obviously lived a really full life.
Yeah. And our daily Stoic source was really emphasizing the breadth of his work.
Yeah.
Like he wrote letters, he wrote essays, plays.
Right. He was very prolific, it sounded like.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, those letters, that's like a great place to start if you're new to Seneca.
Oh, cool.
Our source particularly recommended Letters from a Stoic, which apparently just offers really practical advice on a wide range of topics, like everything from dealing with grief to managing anger to just like finding peace of mind.
Our source was even talking about his essay on anger, right? Where he basically says anger is like a form of madness.
Right. Yeah.
And his remedy is like delay, like take a time out before you fire off that angry email.
Probably a good rule for all of us. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, his work is full of these like really timeless pieces of wisdom that are just as relevant today as they were then.
Yeah, so true. But I mean, with so much to explore, where should our listener even start? Like, it can feel kind of overwhelming, even just from this conversation.
Sure, sure. Well, I mean, as we've mentioned, Letters from a Stoic seems to be like a great entry point.
Yeah.
They're personal, they're insightful, and they really offer a lot of that like practical advice you can apply.
Yeah. And I would also add his essay on the shortness of life to that list.
Oh, yeah.
Just such a good reminder, I think, to like really make the most of our time.
Yeah.
And not get so caught up in the things that don't really matter.
Absolutely. And, our German source, Weiserhaus, they really delved into like the core themes of that essay on the shortness of life. And I thought it was interesting because they were really highlighting how it all comes down to intentionality.
Yeah.
Like, we should really strive to live each day with purpose.
Oh, I love that focus on like making each day count.
Yeah.
Like really a great reminder that life is a gift not to be wasted.
Absolutely. And it's not even always about, the big things. Like Seneca talks about wasting time on stuff like endlessly scrolling, I don't know, like those little bone carvings they used to use to distract themselves.
Oh, right.
Whatever the Roman equivalent of that was. But also, getting caught up in arguments that don't really matter.
Yeah.
Like it's about being really present in each moment.
It's like he's giving us permission to just like hit the reset button and be more intentional.
Totally. Our German source even gave some examples of like the ways we tend to waste time. And it's like startlingly relevant.
What kinds of things?
They were talking about like obsessing over material possessions or just like always chasing after other people's approval. And like, honestly, who hasn't fallen into those traps?
It's so true, right?
Yeah. It makes you realize these aren't new problems. Like Seneca was dealing with the same human tendencies, centuries ago.
Totally. And you know what? Our German source had this really striking image. It was like someone who gets to the end of their life and realizes they were so busy preparing to live that they never actually lived. Kind of a sobering thought, right? But it's also incredibly motivating, to really make the most of each day.
It is. It's a good reminder that ultimately, we can't control how long our life will be, but we absolutely have a say in how we live it.
I love that.
And, that really brings us back to those core teachings we've been talking about, right? Living in alignment with nature, embracing virtue, being prepared to face whatever comes our way, and remembering the importance of those deep, meaningful connections. It's like a recipe for a life well lived, even with all the inevitable challenges.
I think that's beautifully said. This whole dive has been so eye-opening, and I really appreciate you helping us connect with Seneca's wisdom in such a, tangible way.
Oh, of course. It's been a pleasure diving into this with you.
So as our listeners are getting ready to, maybe pick up some Seneca for themselves, any final words of wisdom?
As you're reading, maybe just ask yourself, what's one thing, even a small thing, that I can shift in my own thinking or my behavior, today to try living with a little more intention, a little more virtue?
That's a fantastic question to ponder. And on that note, we'll let everyone continue their own exploration of Seneca's timeless wisdom. Happy reading.